Hello students, welcome to AriserTalent. As you know, we are studying the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms. Already we have discussed few important questions of NCERT. Now this is time to discuss some more important questions of NCERT. So here we go. Number 1, which organisms are called primitive and how they are different from the so-called advanced organisms? Primitive organisms means they have some ancient body design, okay, and they have not changed along with the time. But if we talk about advanced organism, then advanced means they have some special characteristics along with the basic one. Okay, this is the reason they are known as advanced organism. So here we go with the answer. What are primitive? Primitive organisms. Primitive organisms have ancient body design, they have not changed, they have not changed or changed very little or have changed very little along with long period of time are called primitive or lower organisms. Whereas the organisms which have changed with the time, they have developed some special characters along with the basic one. They are known as advanced organisms. Whereas organisms that have some special characters along with the basic one are called advanced organisms. Okay, so what are primitive organisms? Organisms whose body structure is of ancient type, okay, and they have not developed some special features along with the time period. So they are known as lower organisms. But some organisms which have changed their body structure with the time, even they have developed some special features along with the basic one, then they are known as advanced organism. Clear? Next is, what are the major divisions in plantae? What is the basis for these divisions? As we have studied the classification of plants, then we studied that the major division of plantae is that plants are categorized into two major groups. What are they? Cryptogams and phanerogams. So here we go with the answer. The major division of plants are, what are they? They are cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams and phanerogams. Okay, so if we are asked about the divisions of plants, then they are divided into two groups, cryptogams and phanerogames. Now, what are the basic features on which we have divided the plants into two groups? So, characteristics are characteristics of division are, then what are the characteristics? Whether the plant body is differentiated or not. Whether we can mention plant body is differentiated or not. Plant body is differentiated or not. Okay. First feature is that plant body is differentiated into stem, leaves or root or not. Then special tissues. Special tissues for the transportation of materials and water are present or not. Special tissues for transportation of water and other material are present or not. Okay, then the plants have whether plants have hidden reproductive organs or some sex organs. Okay, whether the plants have hidden reproductive organs, or well-developed multicellular sex organs. Then seeds and flowers are present or absent. Whether the plants have seed, flowers or not. Okay, so the criteria to divide the plants into two groups, two major groups, that are cryptogames and phanerogames, then the characteristics to divide plants into these two groups are whether the plant body is differentiated into stem, leaves or root or not, and if they have tissues, special tissues for the transportation and for water and other materials. If the tissues are present, then they are kept in the different group. If the special tissues are not present for transportation, then they are kept into the different group. On the basis of reproductive organ, whether the reproductive organ is hidden or well-developed multicellular sex organs are present, then again they are categorized into different groups. Next criteria was whether the plant has seeds, flowers or if they are absent. Okay, so these were the characteristics. On the basis of these characteristics, plants were categorized into two big groups. They are cryptogames and phanerogames. Clear? Next, how are the criteria for deciding division in plants different from the criteria for deciding the subgroups among animals? As we know, the characteristics of plants and animals are totally different. As if we talk about the plants, then plant body is differentiated, they are stationary, they are not motile, okay, they are autotrophic, whereas animals have a different body structure, as they are motile and they perform very different functions for the living, for feeding, okay, and animals do not synthesize their own food. They cannot perform the process of photosynthesis. Thus, they are categorized into different groups. Okay. So here we can mention the criteria for deciding division in plants is different. The criteria for deciding division in plants is different from the criteria for deciding the subgroups among animals, as plants and animals both have different body structure. As plants and animals are different from each other in many ways. Like plants' body is differentiated. Okay, as we all know, plant body is differentiated into stem, roots and leaves. Okay, whereas animals' body is not differentiated. Plants are stationary. Whereas animals are motile. Plants are autotrophic, means they can synthesize their own food. Plants are autotrophic, whereas animals are heterotrophic. Okay. So thus we can say that plants are different from animals in various ways, and animals are totally different from plants because they perform different activities for their living. Thus we can say that animals are different from plants, as animals perform different activities for their living and feeding. Okay, so plants and animals are totally different from each other. On the basis of these characteristics, they are categorized into different groups and subgroups. Thus, we can say that plants are categorized into different divisions, whereas animals are categorized into subgroups. Okay, so this is the criteria to divide the plants into different divisions and to divide the animals into different subgroups. Clear? So, this is the answer. So, here we go with the next question now. Explain how animals and vertebrate are classified into further subgroups. So, now we have to tell how the animals are how the animals of vertebrates are classified into different subgroups on the basis of their endoskeleton and exoskeleton, on the basis of their reproduction, kind of reproduction, on the basis of their locomotion, type of locomotion, or organ of locomotion, like if they have fins or limbs. Okay, and these were the special features by which we have classified the vertebrates into different subgroups. So, here we go with the points. Then characters to divide animals in vertebrates. What are the characters on which we have divided? On the basis of those characters, we have divided the animals into vertebrates. Then whether on the basis of kind of exoskeleton and endoskeleton, on the basis of kind of exoskeleton or endoskeleton. Exoskeleton means outer skeleton, okay, and endoskeleton means inside the internal skeleton, internal skeleton, okay. Next, on the basis of kind of respiratory organ, whether they breathe through gills or lungs. Okay, so on the basis of kind of respiratory organ. Next, on the basis of kind of reproduction, whether they are oviparous or viviparous, means oviparous or viviparous. Okay, and next, on the basis of kind of locomotion, basis of kind of locomotory organ, means they do the locomotion by fins or limbs. Okay, so these were the criteria, these were the characteristics. On the basis of these characteristics, animals and vertebrates are divided into different subgroups. So, what are the subgroups? Here we go with them. On the basis of these characters, animals and vertebrates are classified in further subgroups. These subgroups are number 1, Pisces. If we talk about Pisces, then first of all, if we talk about this exoskeleton and endoskeleton, the first feature, then we can say exoskeleton of Pisces is made up of scales. Okay, and endoskeleton is made up of bones or cartilage. Bones or cartilage. Okay, next was respiratory organ. On the basis of respiratory organ, then Pisces breathe through gills. They breathe through gills. Okay, and if we talk about the locomotory organ, then they swim with or they move with the help of fins. Clear? Now next subgroup is amphibia. Next subgroup is amphibia. So what are the characteristics of amphibia? Then their skin is slimy. Skin is slimy and they breathe through gills only in the larva stage. They breathe through gills only in larva. Okay, next is reptilia. So in reptilia, again exoskeleton is made up of scales. Exoskeleton is made up of scales and they lay egg outside the water. They lay eggs outside the water. Okay, next is aves. Generally birds come in this group. Aves, so if we talk about aves group, birds come in this group, though we can say then flight is possible in those animals. Okay, and generally they use the locomotory organ feathers. Their body is covered with feathers, means we can say that exoskeleton is made up of feathers. Exoskeleton is made up of feather. Reproduction is generally by laying eggs, means oviparous. They lay eggs and what? Bones are hollow and flight is possible. Flight is possible. Okay. Next is Mammalia. So Mammalia, exoskeleton is generally hairy. Hairs are present on the skin. Next group is Mammalia. So we can say that exoskeleton in Mammalia, in the of the animals of Mammalia group is made up of hairs. Exoskeleton is generally hairy. They give birth to young ones, means they are viviparous. Give birth to young ones. Give birth to young ones. And they move with the help of their limbs. Locomotion by limbs. Okay. So these are the different subgroups in which the animals of group Vertebrata are divided. Okay. So these are the features of the animals of these subgroups. Clear? Next is, what are the differences between animals belonging to the Aves group and those in the Mammalia group? Now we have to do the now we have to talk about the animals of Aves group and Mammalia group. Okay, we have to do the comparison between the animals of Aves subgroup and animals of Mammalia subgroup. So as we know, Aves, if we talk about the Aves, then generally birds come in this group. So their body is generally, exoskeleton is made up of feathers, and if talk about the Mammalia group, then exoskeleton is made up of hairs. Okay, beside it, Aves, if we talk about the Aves, then birds come in this group. Then locomotion in the birds happens by with the help of their feathers. Okay, and if we talk about the Mammalia, then they move with the help of their limbs, means locomotion occurs by the help of their limbs. Okay, if we talk about the reproduction, then Aves, animals of group Aves lay eggs. Beside it, Mammalia are viviparous, they give birth to young ones. If we talk about Aves group, then they do not have mammary glands. If we talk about Mammalia group, then they have mammary glands which produce milk for their young ones. Okay, so here we go with the differences. Aves and Mammalia. Aves, generally they have beak, strong beak, so they have horny beak. And if we talk about group Mammalia, then they have teeth. They have teeth. Okay. Next feature is they lay eggs. This is the reason they are known as oviparous. Okay. And they give birth to young ones. They give birth to young ones. That's why they are known as viviparous. Okay. They have mammary glands. They do not have mammary glands. Aves do not have, they do not have mammary glands. Beside it, Mammalia have mammary glands which produce milk to feed their young ones. Okay, if we talk about the bones, then bones in the aves are hollow. That's why they are known as pneumatic bones. So we can say that they have pneumatic bones, means hollow bones. Beside it, mammalias have solid bones. They have solid bones. Locomotion, if we talk about locomotion, then they fly with the help with the feathers. Locomotion. They fly with the help of feathers. Okay, and with the help of flight feathers, and the locomotion here in the mammalia, they move with the help of their limbs. They move with the help of their limbs. Okay, so these are the special characteristics. On the basis of these characteristics, animals are divided into aves group and mammalia groups. What are the features? Aves have horny beak. Beside it, mammalia have teeth. They lay eggs. That's why they are known as oviparous. And mammalia, the animals give birth to young ones. This is the reason they are known as viviparous. As they give birth to the animals, they give birth to the young ones. That's why they have the mammary glands, because mammary glands produce milk and they feed with the milk to their young ones. And as they do not give birth to young ones, they lay eggs, then they do not have mammary gland. They do not need to feed them. Okay, with their milk. Okay, they have pneumatic bones. Pneumatic bones means they have hollow bones. Bones are hollow. This is the reason their body is light in weight, and then they can fly. Beside it, mammalia, if we talk about the organism of subgroup mammalia, they cannot fly. Why? Because their bones are solid. Their bones are solids, then they are heavy in weight and they cannot fly. Even they do not have feathers too. Okay, locomotion, generally they fly with the help of feathers. And locomotion in mammalia group, they move with the help of their limbs. So these are the different characteristics. On the basis of these characteristics, organisms or animals are kept in the aves and mammalia group. So hope all those answers are clear to you. Thank you.